All right, a very big welcome to you, my dear listeners from all over the world. Thank you for joining me on another great episode of your favorite political talk show, The Truth with Ben Jokes. Terrorists attack Kaduna community, kill 4 residents, abduct 12 others in midnight raid. Terrorists who have laid siege to Kaduna State on Tuesday night again attacked some villagers into early Wednesday. The assailants killed 4 locals and kidnapped 12 others at gunpoint in Gidanwaya village, Lere local government area. Now, this happened on Tuesday, but as I speak to you, there are over 10 reports from different media houses, 10 separate incidents that took place yesterday, Tuesday alone. People were killed and kidnapped. And you know, when they take people like this, 12 in one place, 14 in one place, we don't hear anything about their return because most of them are not always able to afford the ransom. These people, they call money as if they are crazy. They'll be calling 8 million, 20 million, 50 million. And before you know it, they'll just unalive the person. Before the family can, try to beat the money down, bam, the person is gone. This is how Nigerians have been falling to terrorism for over 1 decade now, and it became worse in the last 2 years. If we don't receive help, I am telling you, this situation will never come to an end. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that one coming out of the Tinubu cabinet. Another minister humiliated Nyesom WIKE by throwing his weight behind the officer that stood his ground on that plot of land and sent WIKE away. And next is that big one coming all the way from Turkey. One of the biggest sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria ran away from Nigeria. He ran to Turkey after Trump made that statement that they were going to invade Nigeria to take out the terrorists. Now he ran to Turkey. And from Turkey, he granted an interview saying that Christians in the north central Nigeria are now burying empty coffins. That people are not being killed. They are burying empty coffins in order to convince America to hurry up and enter Nigeria. What a disgrace. Before I show you details of these top stories and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you this video.
Let me go straight to your question. Can I consider what has been happening as genocide against Christians? And my straightforward answer is yes. Y-E-S, yes. Because these things have been there. But let me quickly put this picture. We have different groups and different people who view this differently. Number one, we have people who chose to deny that there is genocide. In their own thinking, there's no Christian persecution even in northern Nigeria. We have also those who deliberately chose to downplay this matter. In their own thinking, claims by Christians that they are being persecuted or they are being killed is just for them to get sympathy. We also have this group who deliberately also chose to misrepresent. Their own is to keep misrepresenting the entire conversation, framing it as it is just only farmers-herders conflict. Well, we know as victims that it is not. And then we have the last group, those who probably are sympathizers of the perpetrators or sympathizers of victims. So anytime you listen to this conversation, you have this thing going. But as I've said in many fora, that the truth about it is that anybody who comes out and say that there's no Christian genocide, there's no Christian persecution, is not fair. It's not fair to the Christians of northern Nigeria, neither is it fair to the victims and their families. Because some of us who are talking today, we've been around and we have buried many in numbers. We can give those numbers and those incidences with dates. Long even before Boko Haram came up. So the killings have always been there. To just fast-track it, you begin with issue of Sharia crisis in 2000. Over 2,000 people died, and we know what really happened. We buried them. In just 2 years after, the Miss World Beauty Pageant crisis came up, over 300 people were killed. We know what happened. We know the people were buried. I used to say this not for any reason, so that you don't think I'm telling you stories I read from books. I was part of the burial. I actually did the burial. So it's not a story. We knew what happened in 2006 about the Danish cartoon crisis. And then Boko Haram came up and further make it big. Kill our pastors, burnt our churches. The fact is that, like the Baptist church that I belong, many of our churches have to shut down completely in Maiduguri and in most of the part of the Northeast due to Boko Haram. Boko Haram were not just targeting people, they were targeting Christians. They publicly came, and thank God, ISWAP and other terrorist organizations are saying it publicly that, look, they will not stop tormenting or they will not stop persecuting Christians. But when you ask me as a Christian, is it just about killings? It goes beyond that. There are so many things we have faced. We face a situation where our children cannot be admitted in certain universities that are public universities, and their crime is not because they are not qualified, they are Christians. We face a situation that even if they go to that school, you will have mosques and places of worship for other religions, but they don't have a place to worship. So every Sunday, they will be changing classroom for them. You're not going to worship here today. You're not going to worship here next week. So they don't have a permanent place to worship. And we ask ourselves, where? I, Reverend Hayab, have fought even in public media that there should be no federal institution in Nigeria where a citizen of Nigeria, a son of a Nigeria, will not be allowed to exercise his right. But our children suffers that. Look, I'll give you an example. There is a resource center by the Catholic in Kaduna, near the Lugatho roundabout. In 2000, there were many priests. I remember one of the priests I will always remember is Professor Peter Bona. He is a professor, a Reverend Father, a professor. They chased them out of that place, burnt all those centers. So Christians have suffered so many things that we don't just keep repeating it. And that's why we say, first, acknowledge that something went wrong. But let's look, how do we correct what went wrong? But when you say that there was nothing wrong, then we are not going to correct it. We'll keep pretending and keep lying to ourselves.
You saw that. That was Reverend Joseph Hayab, the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Northern Chapter. And he said a lot of things there. A lot of killings of Christians. A lot of bad things happening to Christians in Northern Nigeria. Even before this issue of killings by Boko Haram and armed bandits began, Christians had been suffering in Northern Nigeria. And nobody is saying that anybody is demonic. But when you are a Muslim, you have to open your heart and look at this issue. Then what do? We have to accept the truth. For us to change this narrative, we must first accept the truth. And I must give it to some Muslims. Go to the internet. If you read extensively what people are saying, we have found some Muslims coming out to accept this, with one guy even saying that he on some occasions had to house some Christians who were being attacked by Muslims. So I give it to those Muslims that are actually saying the truth. But it behoves us, for God's sake, in 2025, we should be able to put all the lies that we have been told aside. We were all created by one God, and we will be judged by him one day. Let us accept this truth about humanity and creation and unite to fight this common enemy, which is the APC, sponsoring these terrorists that are taking out Nigerians in their scores daily. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that one coming from another minister in the Tinubu cabinet. This minister has thrown his weight behind the officer that stood his ground against the handsome WIKE. And next is that update coming all the way from Turkey. A chief sponsor of terrorism in Nigeria fled the country because of Donald Trump's proposed invasion to take out terrorists. And now all the way from Turkey, he has granted an interview saying that Christians in north central Nigeria, in the Middle Belt, are burying empty coffins in order to get Trump to invade Nigeria. Let's start by taking that update from the defense minister. Look at how the papers reported it. Defense Minister Badaru backs naval officer who clashed with FCT Minister WIKE, says we will protect our officer. The Nigerian Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru, has thrown his weight behind Lieutenant Yerima, the naval officer who reportedly confronted the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom WIKE. The altercation was over a parcel of land allegedly belonging to the former Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo, retired. Speaking on the incident, the Minister Badaru praised Yerima's conduct, describing him as a disciplined officer who acted in line with his duties. We will always protect our officer. He has done well. We won't allow anything happen to him, the minister stated. So we are looking into this issue, and we are sure that any officer on lawful duty will be protected highly. So we will not allow anything happen to him. So far, he's doing his job, and he's doing his job greatly well, he said, according to the news agency of Nigeria. The confrontation reportedly occurred when FCT officials attempted to take control of the land on Tuesday in Abuja. Now, this is a very big blow on Nyesom Wike, a minister straight out of Tinubu cabinet, throwing his weight behind that officer. And this man is a soldier. I don't know if you understand what is playing out here. I don't know if you understand the kind of messages that these people are trying to send out. So it is now becoming the soldiers versus the civilians under the Tinubu administration. And the presidency will be scared. Let's not deceive ourselves. Because the strength of the civilians in power is the military. If the military become angry with them, they become powerless immediately. So they will be scared. And recently, there was an attempted coup. And now we are having all this. There is so much to this. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to this, that update from that terrorist sponsor that fled to Turkey began making the rounds. Sheikh Gumi granted an interview all the way from Turkey, saying that Christians are burying empty coffins in Middle Belt, Nigeria. What a disgrace. Look at how the papers reported it. Sheikh Gumi accuses Middle Belt groups of fabricating Christian genocide, burying empty coffins. Controversial Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi has alleged that some groups in Nigeria's Middle Belt have been burying empty coffins to falsely portray mass killings of Christians and promote what he described as a fake narrative of genocide. Gumi made this claim in a post on his verified Facebook page while reacting to criticisms that trailed his ongoing stay in Turkey. This is amid fears of possible US military intervention in Nigeria following former President Donald Trump's remarks about alleged persecution of Christians. He wrote, "A doctor wrote me, do you know that some Middle Belt Christian groups are now staging fake mass killings? They are burying empty coffins and recording the process as if real victims were killed, just to push the narrative of a Christian genocide. This is desperation at its peak, a disgrace manipulating information just to provoke hatred and international sympathy." The cleric, who has continued to grant interviews from Turkey, dismissed suggestions that he fled the country to avoid potential US attacks, saying his trip had been scheduled before Trump's statement. In another post, he described the allegations of Christian genocide as a deliberate attempt to malign Islam and the enforcement of Sharia law in Nigeria. After the fog has cleared, the alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria is all about a well-drawn-out plan to attack the Sharia law and Islamophobia, he wrote. Wow, that was Sheikh Gumi there, the #1 sponsor of terrorism in Nigeria. He ran away to Turkey because he became so tensed after Donald Trump made that statement. And he knows very well that the whole world knows that he's a sponsor of terrorism. And that list that is with federal government, that the UAE gave to federal government, we are sure that Gumi's name is on that list. So he ran away to Turkey because of fears of being picked. And now from that Turkey, he is granting interviews. And look at what he has said, that those coffins, people that are being buried in Middle Belt, Nigeria, the coffins are empty. That they are lying, they are just dramatizing so that they can win sympathy of international community. What a monster this man Gumi is. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take some of the tweet reactions. This tweet here by Samuel says, "I don't know why the Nigerian government doesn't want to invite Gumi for questioning. A well-known terrorist sympathizer," not sympathizer. Please use the right word. He is a sponsor, a very solid one. And Albert replied, he said, "Because the government is complicit in it all. Nothing to see here, folks. It's just what we are told in the West." That is it. And Dr. Fidel says, "Sheikh Gumi is doing the bidding of powerful interest in the North And this begins to raise serious questions about their complicity in these killings. This man is doing a strong disservice to the Muslim community in the north. That is it. He's doing a strong disservice to the poor and the average Muslims in northern Nigeria, because thousands of them are being taken out by these same terrorists. And Gumi is protecting the terrorists by all means. So no average Muslim who is kind at heart should side with Sheikh Gumi, because Sheikh Gumi is siding with the terrorists that are taking Muslims out. You have to see this the way it is. There is no sugarcoating. This man has been backing the terrorists, saying that they are aggrieved people. Government should go and beg them. Government should go and negotiate with them. That is what he has been saying since day one. And this tweet by Rex says, imagine having a dear friend or family member straightened out in that coffin, only to hear Sheikh Gumi saying that those coffins are empty. That is it. These words will break anybody who has lost a loved one. This man is saying the coffins are empty. They are just dramatizing. Wow. Abayomi here says, empty coffins, what a wicked soul. Gumi, you will get a just recompense with time. The earth has taken inventory of the blood of my brethren from the north. You and your fellow terrorists are cursed from the earth as fugitive and wanderers. Wow, strong words there from Abayomi. And Omo Alafin says, this man is a threat to our national security. I doubt if he is even a Nigerian by birth. It is very possible that he's not, because all these guys, they will just come in from those other African countries, and once they have learned how to speak English, before you know it, their origin will just be put aside, and they'll say it's Hausa Fulani, and that's all. So he might not even be Nigerian. This is what we are going through in this country. This is why when some people say the only solution is dissolution, you can't blame them, because it looks as if this rot has gone too deep. Where do we even start to correct this from? But there are some of us who believe that with the right leadership in place, we can still rescue this country. The problem now is, how do we get this right leadership in place when all the institutions have been taken over by the same people that are tearing this country apart? How do we get this right leadership in place? It is a question that I seriously cannot answer myself. Of course, we know under conditions that we can get the right leadership. But how do we put those conditions in place? It still lies in the hands of these people at the National Assembly, and they are the evil ones tearing the country apart. So it is a strong problem that I honestly cannot say how this country will come out from. We can only hope and pray and gaze onto the sky and expect the best while we prepare for the worst. Anyway, make I leave am here. Make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because of una. Now I dey here. So don't go away. Don't go away.